Okay, so like ever picture yourself at the front of a classroom, but instead of like droning on about history dates, you're like unlocking a teenager's inner Van Gogh.
Right.
Today, we're doing a deep dive on secondary school art teachers,
Okay.
and we are going way beyond like, those finger paint cliches.
It's a cool mix,
Yeah.
like artistic passion, but also you got to have that education know-how.
Yeah.
And we've got all this info from RoleCatcher.
Oh, cool.
It's a career development
Look, I
platform.
say that sounds familiar.
Yeah, so they'll kind of guide us through all this.
This roll catcher thing seems seriously cool. It's like someone handed you a cheat sheet for like the whole job hunting thing.
Totally. It's like how people prep for careers these days is just so different.
Right.
But okay, before we like go down the rabbit hole of all this tech stuff,
Yeah.
let's like get back to the main thing. What does a secondary school art teacher actually do all day?
Yeah. Because it can't just be, all right, kids, get on your watercolors.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
It's a lot about like encouraging creativity, especially with teenagers. That's such a key age.
Yeah.
You're the one like designing their whole curriculum, right?
All right.
Planning the lessons, grading their work, all of that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Even figuring out how to like fit art into other subjects.
Whoa. Interdisciplinary learning. See, that's what I love. It's like, it's not just art in a vacuum. You're connecting it to everything else.
100%. And actually, can't forget about like the elephant in the room, or I guess I should say the tablet on the desk.
Right.
Technology is huge now.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
one day you're teaching kids how to use like digital art tools,
Yeah.
and then the next, it's all about analyzing a Renaissance painting.
Oh, wow. That's a really good example. So you're like bridging the gap between the classic stuff and what they're already into.
Totally. Now, if someone's thinking about actually doing this, like as a job, they're probably wondering about, the whole job market thing. Is there even room for more art teachers?
Yeah. Give me the good, the bad, and the straight up competitive. Like, what's it really like?
So, good news first.
Yeah.
The need for art teachers is probably going to stay pretty steady,
Okay.
which is awesome.
Okay.
It can be super competitive, especially depending on where you are,
Makes sense.
because it's a field that attracts passionate people, and there's a lot of them out there,
Totally.
So that's where it gets tough.
So how does RoleCatcher help with like all that competition?
So they like break down the whole career path.
Okay.
From when you're just starting out to like senior level.
Yeah.
You can see how your work changes as you get more experience.
Okay, I like that.
They even have these example profiles
Oh, cool.
of real art teachers at different points in their careers.
Okay, I love that. Real people, real stories.
Yeah.
It's like a sneak peek,
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff do those profiles tell you?
They give you the real deal, like
Yeah.
day to day, the highs, the lows, all of it.
Yeah.
So for someone brand new, it's all about building a strong base, assisting those experienced teachers, learning classroom management.
Oh my God, with a room full of teenagers, that's got to be its own skill.
Right. It's basically an art. It's all about those routines, the boundaries,
Yeah.
making sure the creativity can actually happen.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher talks about how important it is to like watch how those teachers do it,
Right.
how they keep everyone's attention.
It's like learning on the job.
Yes. And finding your own style.
So it's not even just the art part, it's the teaching itself that's
Piece
like
of-
its own thing.
Exactly. And as you get better, you become more like junior level, right? That's when you start to do your own thing more. Your lesson plans, you bring in your own artistic style.
That's got to feel good.
It does.
Like you're the teacher now.
Yes. And you could even do things like organize a student art show.
No, that is a proud moment, I bet. To see their work displayed and like the whole school gets to see it.
It's amazing.
Ugh.
And it gives them so much confidence,
Totally.
and it builds community.
Yeah.
So then when you hit that mid-level, your work changes again.
Okay.
You might be mentoring newer teachers,
Oh, cool.
passing on what you've learned,
Yeah.
leading workshops for the other teachers even.
Wow. So you're like the art guru now.
Right. You guide the next generation of teachers. It's really rewarding.
That's amazing. And you're still working with the students too, right?
Yes. And at this point, you might even be working with like groups outside the school,
Oh, that's so...
community organizations, stuff like that, to like bring art to more people.
That's fantastic. So it's really, like you said, it's more than just being an art teacher.
Yeah.
You're a mentor, you're part of the community, you're advocating for the arts, like all of it.
Exactly.
That's so cool. Now, if someone's like, I want to be at the top of the art teacher mountain, what's that like,
Yeah.
according to RoleCatcher?
They basically say that that's when it all comes together. After years of experience and hard work and leadership, you're not just teaching anymore. You're shaping the entire art program at your school.
Wow. That is a huge responsibility. What does that even look like day to day?
You could be like building a whole new curriculum, working with the principal to get more money for art supplies.
Always got to have the supply.
Right. Or even like going to meetings and speaking for your school, you know. You make sure the arts are still a big part of everything.
So you're not just shaping the kids' minds, you're shaping how art is even taught. That is seriously inspiring.
It's pretty amazing. But, nothing's perfect.
Right.
Every career has its tough parts.
Mm.
What are some of the hard things about being an art teacher, especially once you're at that senior level? I think one of the biggest things is that you constantly have to fight for the arts to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Because a lot of schools are all about math and reading and science, and it can feel like you're not heard.
Yeah, I can see how that would be so frustrating when it's something you're so passionate about.
Right. And then there's all the bureaucracy of a school, the politics and all that. That can be hard to deal with.
Oh, for sure, I bet. But that's where those leadership skills are super important, right?
Definitely. It's about standing up for what you believe in, building good relationships, and never losing sight of what you're trying to do.
It's a tough job, but it sounds so rewarding.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that feeling when a student finally gets it.
Yeah.
When they learn a new skill or they find a new passion for an art form, that makes it all worth it.
Totally. Those are the moments that keep you going.
Totally.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so we've talked all about what it means to be a secondary school art teacher, from the first time you're alone in a classroom to when you're basically running the whole art department.
Right.
What's like the main takeaway from RoleCatcher for people thinking about this?
They really stress the importance of remembering why you started doing this in the first place, Don't lose that spark.
Yeah, that passion for art.
Yes. Because that's what will keep you creative. That's what will inspire your students, and that's what will get you through the tough stuff.
It all comes back to that.
It does.
Wow. So listeners, who knows? Maybe you'll be that art teacher inspiring the next generation of artists.
Right. How cool would that be?
Okay, so that's it for this deep dive. Be sure to join us next time when we'll be talking about, so it's like you need to have a feel for the whole vibe of the classroom, not just like who's good at drawing.
Right. It's a lot more than that.
Wow.
And that actually ties into another skill. RoleCatcher talks about judgment and decision-making.
Ooh.
Important stuff.
Yeah, because I bet there's a ton of decisions you're going to make on the fly as a teacher, right? Like way more than I'd even think of.
Oh, constantly. You're always thinking on your feet, like, what if the lesson's not working?
Right.
Got to switch it up. Or if a student's just not into it that day.
Mm-hmm. Teenager.
Exactly. It takes real judgment to know when to be like, hey, come on, let's try this.
Yeah.
Versus when you got to be a little firm.
Oh, for sure. Like you're trying to give them that creative freedom, but also got to have some structure.
Finding that balance is key, especially with a room full of,
Teenagers.
Teenagers, exactly. And speaking of balance, RoleCatcher had this other thing that surprised me. They said reading comprehension is super important.
Now, I get that all teachers got to be good readers.
Right.
But why is it extra important for art teachers?
Okay, well, think about it. You're reading all those art history books.
Right.
Right? And then there's artist statements, critiques, all that.
Yeah.
You're constantly taking in info, making connections.
Yeah.
And then you got to turn all that into lessons that make sense to your students.
It's like you're a detective or something, uncovering all those hidden meanings in art.
I like that.
Right.
And don't even get me started on art theory books.
Yeah, those can be tough.
Those are dense, even for us.
Okay, so strong reading skills, check. We've got like understanding the students, making good decisions, being able to read all those complex texts. What other surprises did RoleCatcher have about the skills you need for this?
So remember we were talking about how technology is everywhere in the art world now?
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough to just use those digital tools.
Right.
You got to understand how they're changing how art is even made.
It's like back in the day when photography came along, it didn't replace painting.
Right.
It just made people see things differently.
So as a teacher, you got to be learning constantly.
Yeah.
New software, new materials.
Keeping up with all the trends.
Yes. Even understanding things like AI and how that's going to impact art because
Oh my God, that's going to be huge.
huge.
You're literally prepping them for a future we can't even imagine yet.
Exactly. You need that flexibility, that willingness to try new things and bring them into your teaching.
Oh, you're constantly learning and unlearning, which is, that's got to be tough, but also kind of exciting.
It is exciting. And it's not just about technology either.
Sure.
RoleCatcher was really big on this. Knowing art history and theory, like really knowing it.
So it's not just teaching the how-to, but the why behind it all, right? Like the history and context for all these different art movements.
Yes. Think about it. How can you teach Impressionism without understanding, like, how radical their use of light and color was?
Oh, yeah.
Or, abstract expressionism and all that raw emotion. You got to get that across.
Totally. It's like you're giving them the tools to actually understand how vast the art world is and how much there is to learn.
Exactly. And along with that historical knowledge, you also need to be really aware of different cultures
Mm.
and sensitive to that.
Oh, for sure. Because art's one of the best ways to learn about different cultures.
Right. A good art teacher celebrates that diversity.
Mm-hmm.
They make sure their classes include art from all different styles and traditions.
So it's not just like the classics that everyone learns about, it's everything.
Exactly. It's about being more inclusive, you know, showing the students that there's a place for everyone in the art world.
I love that. And that takes a lot of self-awareness too, right? Like the teacher needs to recognize their own biases.
Absolutely. And be willing to learn and grow.
So it's really a two-way street. You're learning from the students just as much as they're learning from you.
It really is. It's a journey
That's so
for
cool.
both of you.
This is so interesting. It's clear that being a secondary school art teacher is about way more than just, here's how you mix paint.
Right.
It's about inspiring kids, making them think differently, helping them find their own voice through art.
Yes. And it takes a special kind of person to do that.
For sure. You need the artistic skills, obviously, but you also need to know how to teach, how to connect with people.
And to understand the power of art.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've covered a lot, but I definitely want to hear more about what this career path actually looks like. Like, how do you go from being a brand new teacher to like the seasoned pro? What are the steps along the way?
That's a great question. And luckily, RoleCatcher has a really clear breakdown of that whole journey.
Perfect. Well, then let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive into all those details. Okay, so we're back and ready to like map out what this whole art teacher career path actually looks like.
It's a journey for sure.
Right.
You grow so much, you hit those roadblocks, and then there's those moments where it all clicks.
Oh, totally.
And RoleCatcher does a really good job of like breaking it all down to these manageable chunks. You know what I mean?
I like that. So let's say you just got your first art teacher job, fresh out of college, probably still riding that graduation high.
Yeah.
What's waiting for them in those first couple of years, according to RoleCatcher?
They keep it real.
Yeah.
They're not saying you're going to be curating a museum show right away. It's more like
Great.
you're building up that base. You're helping out the teachers who've been doing it forever, learning how the classroom works.
Which with teenagers, that's got to be a whole other skill set, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Learning to manage all that energy. It's about setting those routines, making sure everyone knows the boundaries.
So the creativity can actually happen.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And RoleCatcher talks about how important it is to like really watch how those experienced teachers do it.
Right.
How do they get everyone to listen? How do they inspire the kids who are like, art, ugh?
It's like learning by watching the masters at work.
It really is.
Uh-huh.
And as you do it more, you get into that groove. You find your own way of teaching.
So it's not even just the art part, it's the teaching part that's like its own art form.
Right. And as you get more confident, that's when you move into more of a junior level role.
Okay.
That's where you get to spread your wings a little. You're designing more of your own lessons. You're bringing in your own style.
Oh, I bet that feels so good.
It really does. Like, this is my art class.
Right. You're the teacher now.
Yes.
Okay.
And at this level, you might even get to do things like organize a student art show.
Ooh. Okay, now that has got to be a proud teacher moment. See all their work up on display.
Oh my gosh, the best. And the students are so proud too. Gives them so much confidence to see their work like that.
Totally. And it creates that community feeling too, right?
For sure. Okay, so then you move up again into a mid-level position, and the work changes some more.
What's different now?
This is where you start mentoring the newer teachers, sharing what you've learned. You might even lead those professional development days, where all the teachers get together.
Oh, wow. So you're like leading the pack now.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
You're helping to shape the next generation of art teachers. It's really cool. And you're still teaching students too, of course.
Of course. Got to stay connected to why you got into this whole thing in the first place.
Exactly. And now you might even be working with groups outside the school,
Yeah.
Like community centers, local art groups.
So you're branching out even more. That's so cool.
Yeah. You're bringing art to more people. It's really rewarding.
So you're a teacher, a mentor, a community leader. Man, art teachers wear a lot of hats. Okay, but for those who are like, I want to climb that art teacher ladder all the way to the top, what's it like to be a senior level art teacher, according to RoleCatcher?
They basically describe it as like, this is it,
Hmm.
You've put in the years, you're dedicated, you're a leader. This is what it all leads up to.
Wow, that's got to be intense. So you're not just teaching in the classroom anymore.
No, at this point, you're shaping the entire art program at the school.
That's a huge responsibility. What does that even look like day to day?
Well, you might be creating a whole new art curriculum for the school. You might be working with the principal to try to get more money for art supplies.
Because a good art program needs good supplies.
Exactly. Or you might be the one going to those big district meetings and speaking up for your school's art program.
So it's about more than just teaching art. It's about advocating for art to have a place in the school system.
100%.
That's really incredible. But like with any career, it can't be all sunshine and rainbows. What are some of the challenges that come with being a senior level art teacher?
Well, one of the biggest ones is just constantly having to fight for the arts to be taken seriously.
Uh, yeah, I can see that. When budgets get tight, art is often the first thing to get cut, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll encounter people, even other teachers, who just don't get how important art is.
So you have to be ready to explain it to them like over and over.
You do. You have to be a strong advocate for the arts.
Yeah.
And that can be tiring. Plus, there's just the general school bureaucracy,
Yeah,
all the paperwork, the meetings, the politics. It can be a lot.
I bet. But that's where those leadership skills come in handy, right?
Totally. You got to be organized, a good communicator, and really good at working with all different kinds of people.
So not just the art skills, but all those people skills too.
Exactly.
It sounds like a really demanding job, but also incredibly rewarding.
Oh, absolutely. At the end of the day, you're helping young people connect with their creativity, and that's something really special.
Yeah. Okay, so RoleCatcher gave us a ton of info about what it takes to be a secondary school art teacher. What's
Yeah.
the most important thing for our listeners to remember if they're thinking about this career?
I think the biggest thing is to never lose that initial spark, that love of art that made you want to do this in the first place.
Because that's what'll keep you going when things get tough.
Exactly. That passion will fuel your creativity, it'll inspire your students, and it'll help you handle all the challenges that come with the job.
It all comes back to that love of art. Well, that's it for today's deep dive into the world of secondary school art teachers. We hope you enjoyed this journey as much as we did. And who knows, maybe we've inspired a few future art teachers out there. Thanks for listening.